Good evening, everybody. My name is Louise Connolly, and I am the head of the Educational Consultants Department and Events Manager at Macmillan, Iberia. So now, what I would like to do is introduce our first our first and second speaker, because Yvonne is going to give both talks today. Yvonne will start with the first talk, which will be on responding to emerging needs. Now, I want to welcome Yvonne back, because those of you who attended our events in 2017 will remember that Yvonne spoke at those events. And she is returning today, and her first talk, which is about emerging needs in the classroom, is very dear to her, because Yvonne is an early infants education specialist. Mm-hmm. She has a particular interest in different needs in the classroom. She has worked with Macmillan for many, many years. She was involved in the Macmillan Early Learning Path program. So Yvonne has many, many years experience as a teacher trainer, and I think she has a lot of valuable insights and ideas to share with us this evening. So welcome back, Yvonne.
Thank you, Louise. And
you're welcome.
I'd like to get started, so I'm going to move on. And it's lovely to be here to continue talking about working with children with emerging special needs or learning styles, because there's the both. So during the session, as you can see on the slide, we're going to have a look at how we can use the existing materials you have in your class and perhaps modify them or make simple changes to your planning or delivery of your class, so that we can embrace children that may have emerging learning styles, but equally emerging special needs. And the one thing that we will notice, as you can see on the slide, there we go. Oh, sorry, there we go. Oh, I'm using the wrong finger on the button. Is that in your class you may recognize that you have children with letter reversal, maybe they're doing mirror writing, and sometimes they could have very poor fine motor skills or gross motor skills. And one thing to keep an eye on is phonological awareness, that if you notice that children are not making the connection between letter sounds and letter shapes. So these are all things we need to look at. But equally, as you probably remember, is that in the early years, that a January birthday and a December birthday, there's a huge difference in what the children can do. And also we have to remember ages and stages. And one thing I must flag up here is, if you do have a problem that you think a child may have, get professional help. You can't, we're not able to label a child with a particular issue. So I'd like to move on. So, as I said, in the session we're looking at a range of ways that you can change your materials in the class, and hopefully once you've done these it will be reusable and reusable again for the future. So first of all, let's move on to the poll. So
we'll launch the poll now. In fact, people are responding already.
Oh, are they? Wonderful.
People are quick. They're very quick.
Wonderful.
So the question is, what do your pupils have difficulty with? And as Yvonne has just explained, the options are reversal letters, mirror letters, poor pencil grip, poor coordination, speech and language delay, phonological delay, and finally behavior and interaction with other children. So we'll just give people a few more seconds.
And there's probably
others as well.
Yes.
But
and this is
obviously
just
we
one
want
of
to
the
focus on key areas. It seems like the majority of people are saying speech and language delay is a big difficulty.
Yes.
And coming after that, not too far behind, is behavior and interaction with other children. 54% more or less. And then following that we've got phonological delay, then poor pencil grip, and poor pencil grip and reversal of letters are more or less at the same level, I think. And then after that we've got poor coordination and mirror letters.
Yeah.
So would you agree with that?
I do, and I actually think what the teachers are probably showing us through the poll is that this is something that is escalating with the use of electronic devices as well, I have to say. So let's move on with the tips and perhaps some advice I can give you for using your materials in the classroom. But first, let's just have a look at the types of learning styles that there are. And you might recognise some of your own learning styles within these. I'm certainly a visual spatial learner. What about you?
I'm visual spatial, but also auditory as well, I think.
So what we know is that understanding how these different learning styles works helps us plan a class, but we can't plan for each individual child. So the idea is to offer a multisensory tactile activity that embraces all of these elements so that we are accelerating learning. One thing we know is that if a child is happy about their learning environment, they will learn quicker. And making it a multisensory or a tactile kinesthetic activity, the outcomes definitely prove that they're learning quicker as well. And apart from this also benefits bilingual learners.
Yes.
Having hands-on activities with visual cues enables children to make connections with the language and the image and acquisition. So it has a dual purpose in that respect. So what are the benefits of adapting your classroom materials?
So now we have another interaction. This time I have you say. The question is, as Yvonne has said, what are the benefits of adapting your classroom materials? And we'll give you a couple of seconds just to write in keywords or short answers. If I may,
yes, please do.
I would say that in terms of benefits of adapting your classroom materials, then you're catering for the different needs. I presume that's
the idea is that you're allowing the one concept to be learned in many different ways.
Exactly.
Which is the point. It's not just always pencil, paper and a board.
Yes.
So you are allowing the range of learning styles or emerging special needs styles to be able to get that concept.
Exactly.
So
and also because they're so little, they're so young.
Yes.
It wouldn't make much sense to start labelling them
too
early on. And what we want to encourage is diversity and
and as I mentioned earlier, the whole spectrum of learning can accelerate as they move up to nearly 5 or 6, where their cognitive abilities are more ready. So
so we're getting answers such as, thank you to all of you who are answering this question now. So one person is saying connecting your students' needs to what you use in the classroom, that's key. It makes for a much more pupil-centred or student-centred methodology. The learning is much more significant. It's motivating, and it provides an element of surprise. So the children don't know exactly what to expect, perhaps. Another person is saying you can use them for the following years.
Of course,
they're reusable, so that's a good point, I think.
And also, I think if you're doing a physical activity, your brain remembers that pattern.
Yes.
You know, the interaction of a physical thing.
Yes.
It's the syntaxes are there, so
It allows us to relate to the real world.
Yes.
It caters for diversity. And the materials can focus on the real needs of and characteristics of the pupils, although it does take more time to adapt.
There's some very good responses there. Very good responses.
Everybody.
And additionally, I've got some here that the one that is quite striking here is reduces stress and anxiety in learning, because if a child may have emerging dyslexia or visual processing or language processing, being able to use something else takes the stress. And again, the bilingual aspect, that it makes it a resource that can be used over again, because many topics are similar in infants. It's a good prompt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody said that about the recyclable nature of materials.
Yeah, so some really good answers there, very good answers. So what I'm going to move on to is something quite important with very young children, is mark making, and this is down to fine motor skills, and I thought it'd be very prudent to just put this in, because many children use mark making as a way to moving on to scribbling, onto a way to doing letter formation. But as you see in the visual here, it's a very simple thing. If you've got something like this, a closed peg, and you can use a variety of materials on this to do the mark making. But the mark making is one way that a teacher can actually use it as something to talk to the child about. Because if it's on paper, you can talk about it, and you may be able to glean if the child has got any concepts from your class, also about what language, key language they may know. So also another thing is little children get tired very quickly, so the mark making builds up the fine motor skills. And equally, if a small child is developing their writing skills, if they can't read it, they won't try again. So it's building up that as well. So this was and I've put a few points on here, especially about how teachers can gain the knowledge of what the children have learned in the class with the mark making. So another way around this is laminating sheets, so that you're not using over photocopies over and over again, or paper. So that's just a little tip I've put in there. So here is when we're getting children writing, what can we use? And as you can see on the visuals, I've got some pencils that have got ping pong balls. And that, of course we want children to learn how to do a grip, but to get started it can be a little bit difficult. But equally, I have a pipe cleaner. And a pipe cleaner can also help as a way for children to grip the pencil, and you can make it as thick or as thin as you like. And I remember I had a child in a class that had very fine, very poor fine motor skills for actually stacking and actually building. And as you can see in the picture, we have bricks with Velcro. So at least when they were trying to stack and build, the bricks weren't falling off. It would be a skill that they would eventually acquire. But when you start putting letters on bricks so that they can start segmenting and blending, having the Velcro helps them remember the sequence of the letters and make a word. So that helps. And another little trick for fine motor skills is with the books. And as you see in the photographs, the books have sponges and lolly sticks and also little lids. Because if a child is getting something like dyspraxia, or they don't have that skill, you can even use something like these little tabs, so that they can open the page easily. So they can open the page easily. Another fine, and this can also do for workbooks as well. I know children have to learn how to do the right to left sweep, but we're helping them. They won't always need things like this, but it's a help. It's a help. So that's our first 3-year-olds moving on. And with pupil books, and the problem with pupil books, they get bored. Children get bored with the same delivery of the Pupils books. So here I'm suggesting we take it as a PDF or a photograph and put it on the big screen, and children will think, "Oh, this is boring, I've seen this in my book, I don't want to do it anymore." So you give them a different way of looking at it. So Louise, have a look at the page. What can you see?
I can see a boy who seems to be sitting at a table. He's working on something, and there's a girl beside in the next picture who's sleeping. There's a little boy in the third picture who is cooking, I think. He's wearing an apron.
So the children are probably like, "Oh, I've seen this, I don't want to do it anymore." So what's happened now? So what I've done is photographed it again and put a post-it over, so the children aren't anticipating that I'm using the same resource, and now I'm engaging their audio-visual skills, and it's what's missing. Can you remember?
The boy, no, the girl who was sleeping.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely sure.
Would you like to have another look just to check?
Yes.
So
Got it
you're
right.
100%?
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah,
Hey.
you're right. So we've used the same material in a different way, and the children weren't expecting that question. So again, and it's also like using flashcards. Okay, we've got a lot of flashcards in the class, but I'm going to use Louise to help me here. The obvious question would be,
We'll hold that up.
what would be?
What is it?
Well, no, I'm going to
no.
say, can you make the sound?
Oh. Oink,
Or,
oink.
yeah. What colour is it?
Brown.
How many legs?
4.
Okay. What colour?
Red.
Show me the number on your hand. Okay. Show me 5. Count to 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What do these two numbers make?
51.
You're a clever girl.
I know.
Yeah. So we've been using the flashcards in a completely different way, so the children aren't expecting the questions. So again, that's just a little way to change the
nice.
dynamics of
Yes,
Yeah.
Did you notice I suddenly...
yeah, you perked up
I
a little
perked
bit.
up.
Yeah. So that's another way of just using the same materials. And also another way is when you're introducing grammar concepts with 5-year-old perhaps, where you're putting a conjunction like and, 5 and 1, a pig and a horse. So they're using the grammar there. And another tip for using the book, especially with children who may have, fine motor skill problems again, and they're using the class book. What's the problem with using the class book and a pencil? The rubbing out, the rubbing out, the rubbing out. We end up having big holes in the pages. One idea is for children to cover their book with the sticky back plastic that you use for covering books.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you cover the page that needs to have the writing or the practicing of the letters, and it can be wiped clean and they can try again. It can be wiped clean and it can be
It's
tried
easily
again.
cleaned,
Yeah, it's
yes.
easily cleaned. So it's providing, when you revisit it, the child revisits, it's not, oh my Lord, look at that.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
a disaster. I had a bad time with this page before. They're having a clean page,
Yes.
and they
Another
can do
go.
it over and over again until they're satisfied with the results.
Excellent.
So that's a good idea. And also, if you have spare class books that you want to reuse for individual attention with children, you can just plastify them and use them over and over again. Frame a section of work. I'm going to show this in the next slide, but this is another way of keeping the focus on what you want the children to do, their activity. And again, for children that may have processing, visual processing, language processing, it helps them. So we're going to have a look at that in the
Okay.
next one. And the what to do sequence, as you can see in the illustration, I have numbers 1 to 3, and you can make the numbers as long as you like. But the idea is that if you have an active child, or a child that may be able to only absorb chunks of information, if you get the children on task and everybody's working, that child is like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. Having this sequence on the board is a visual prompt on them being able to continue their work without disrupting the class.
Yes.
So it works very well. So I'm going to move on to using the frame, and as you can see here, what are we looking at? What have I framed?
You framed a little girl and a dog.
So that's where my focus is going to be. So of course children have to learn about scanning for information and listening, but they're very young, so they don't have all the language concepts there. So by framing the particular part, I'm talking about the girl, and I might ask questions such as, can you tell me the colour of her jacket? Can you tell me the colour of her hair? And you can actually make a frame out of a piece of paper and use this in a book, so that they can focus on what they're doing in their class book. And that's another way. And you can have a bigger frame for your board work if you wanted to. So that's a good way for just giving the right amount of information for a child with limited attention span as well.
Yes.
And quickly moving on, with Pupils Books. Now, this is a poster that supports a Pupils Book. How can we use this? Again, what animals can you see?
A cat, a fish, a parrot, and a whale.
Okay.
Oh, and a dog.
A dog. I'm not going to ask you to do the sounds this time, so you're okay. So
have
a look at that. And again, we're using the same format where we say what animals are missing. This is a little bit more difficult because there are a lot of animals in there. Can you remember?
There was a cat, there was a dog, there was a whale, there was a parrot, there was a...
so you can see the delivery of this changes the dynamics. and again, what was covered up? The whale and the...
The whale and the...
seal.
Oh, the seal. I didn't see the seal.
So this can be as complex or as easy as you like. And also, some of you may be familiar with the reveal facility on a computer where you can hide a lot of it and just reveal certain colours, certain things within it. And it's a good way to keep the children looking at the material and on task. And again, I've put some points here on how you can expand on this. It applies to visual and linguistic learners because we're engaging with their style of learning. Observation skills, I Spy, and we can also use it for language, for looking for initial sounds. A visual prompt to support key language. And a new way of looking at a familiar resource that children see over and over again, but we're changing the structure of the questions. Okay, and again, puppets. Isn't it amazing how children will talk to a puppet, but they won't talk to us?
Yeah.
So this is a quick way that children can reuse the characters from the book they're using on lolly sticks. And also, as you can see, there's a lovely little picture there, and this is from a teacher I know who made these as story prompts within her class, and the children got, they're wooden spoons. But as an assessment tool, children who have poor communication skills or may not display what they know in interactions within the class, using the puppets, a teacher, you may be able to gauge, one, what are they learning from the class? How are they applying that to their real life scenario, which is quite important, and also, are they recycling vocabulary? At that young age, we may be only getting the odd word in English. However, if they're understanding the gist of the concept, that might be coming through in their own language. And they might be extending and changing the storyline. So, again, for visual learners, communication, there's a lot going on using this resource. Okay, maths and counting. I remember I had one boy who was very active, and the only way I could get him to say the numbers in sequence was to jump the numbers. So sometimes, again, as we mentioned about movement and learning, connecting, it's also visual and touching. And these are very simple activities to help in a kinesthetic way that children can learn the quantities and the number value, because we also have reversals in numbers too. And here I have something very simple, which is a number fan. And again, if you have children who are very active, it's something for them to do with their hands. They're looking and checking. You can ask them to put it in sequence, and also they can count the dots. A very simple activity this is, and it helps. But effective, And the fans work really well, moving just slightly aside. We have emotion fans. So the emotion fans can also help with learning about topics, but also how you feel, and we'll see another example of that. And the fans also work well for letter sounds. But again, we're looking at that way that we can occupy a very active child, maybe emerging ADHD, and children always want something in their hands. I do like the end picture here that has the plasticine with the dots in them. These are that you can rub your finger on.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and you can even buy that clay that hardens so that you have a permanent one. Yeah,
okay.
and varnish. But running the finger along the dots is a very kinesthetic way to remember how many. And of course, the Lego.
Yes.
The Lego. If you have boys or girls that are builders, their trajectory is to be always moving. Get them doing the numbers in a sequence. It would help.
Yes.
It would help. And the buttons stuck onto the felt, another way to touch and feel. And I do like this one, sorting with cooking tongs. And this helps with fine motor skills, but also you can build into this activity looking for a particular shape, looking for a particular colour. You can be following a sequence. You may have on the board a sequence, a square, a circle, a rectangle, and they're actually engaging using all their senses, using the big tongue depressors. And the one at the bottom is for slightly younger children, but again, you know, they have to splat the plasticine down, they have to put the straws, and they're counting using the pasta. And we can see here we're doing up to 5 or 6. So again, it's that physical construction. And the last one is great because these are all rolls from the classroom. Continuous paper rolls, kitchen roll, toilet rolls. We have a sorting activity which can be expanded and reduced down to whatever type of learning concept you want. So I'm going to move promptly on to routines. And routines can also cause a lot of stress within the classroom because children wonder what's happening next when they're very young, and also predominantly, when am I going to eat and when am I going home? So we have some here which is in the handout. This is on the handout for you to have a look at. But what I want to show you are some visuals about routines. The visual timetable. And the visual timetable is a great way for children to, one, learn the days of the week, also to learn the names of what they're doing in their classes. And as the day progresses, we take down what they've done. So the one at the top is an easy peg one that we can use, but also what I do have is for children who may find it challenging to be looking and to wonder what they're doing, I've put everything on here. We have a string where the children pull along what they've done as they move through the day. I've got my school bag, I've taken off my jacket, I'm now going to have English, I'm going to have my snack, I need my book, and I need my pencil. I now have music class, I'm going to have maths, I have to work. So this is a good one for a child that may need that extra reinforcement as well. And so you have a variety of here, and I like the one on the folder as well, for as children move up and they perhaps you don't need to have it up on the board so much, of the visual one. And also, I'm at my desk, and this is more personalised. And as you can see, there's one there for if a child can't express what they need. I need visual, the visuals, I feel and I need. And I do like the one at the end where you actually just close the flaps as the day goes along, and that's a real, I've done it. I've taken it off and I've done it.
I've achieved that.
But apart from this, looking at some resources that help, some children are having number lines and also alphabet lines on the desk, because some children actually lose what they're doing by looking up and looking down, looking up and looking down. So some displays don't work. And also, quickly, I just wanted to show that this is a really good idea for topic, in that we have the words and we also have a piece of string and they have to line it up with the visual.
Lovely.
Another way of learning for children. And very quickly, the paper plate alphabet, where it's little flaps, cheap as anything, a paper plate, and they have uppercase and lowercase, and they're moving along as they're learning the sequence.
That's a lovely idea.
And again, it's keeping the children focused and they're moving along. So active children may interrupt and they may cause a few problems within the class when the class is going well. They often need regular breaks so that they can get their fine motor skill, well, the gross motor skills out there. This is not easy within a class, within a short time. So here are a few ideas. I like the one with the toy with the elastic bands, because then they're pulling that off and they're putting it back on. And it's not too disruptive. Also, the one with the elastic exercise band on the chair, it means the child can move their legs without having to get out of the chair. So that's a good one. And the sensory bags for touching while they're at the desk. And I'm going to move on now to this one, which is the ball. And you're probably going to say, but everybody will want a stress ball in the class. Put the name on, and the children will recognise that that child needs that ball, and they'll forget about it after a while. And this is a personalised routine. Young children probably can't read it, but they can use the icons. You can use the icons so that they can peel off what they need to do. And language processing, I'm just trying to move on because we haven't got much time. If you are asking children to do something, the visual is in the handout. Reduce it down to simple little instructions, because more than 2 or 3 instructions, the children can't, they can't do it. They can't process it. And also using a story frame. And if a child has poor communication, get them to write, because if they can draw it, you have an idea of what they understand and what they can do. And the lovely story map you can put on the floor. It can be chalk, Louise. It doesn't have to be anything else. It can be chalk. So they can jump along, and it's a gross motor skill that they're doing. And mind maps. Very easy to do, and with small children you can do them with flashcards. You can have your stack of flashcards and you can get them organising. We're beginning mind mapping. Organising colours, animals, everything. So that's how we begin. Organising information to move on to like these wonderful maps here that are in the and I can't emphasize enough with letters, they need to be started as an action so that we remember them. And again, we have some wonderful examples here of using the little pegs. We have little lolly sticks with with letters on. You've seen the alphabet. It could be with numbers, and also making numbers with things that are bendy. And as we go on, music. How can music help in a class?
Let's see what people have to say. So this is a have your say. What do you think? How can music help in your class? You can write in short answers. Somebody's written in already. Thank you. Learning the vocabulary and expressions better.
Of course,
can help. Music can help too. I suppose ground or
well, we always remember a tune.
Yes, we do.
We remember a tune.
And the fact that it's rhythmic, the fact that it's a way of focusing as well.
Of course,
because if your body is moving to a particular rhythm, you remember.
It's back to that making a connection with what you learn and how you.
They relax. They can relax pupils. They can help with intonation. Music makes children keep calm and relaxed. It could have the opposite effect as well.
It depends.
Depends on the choice of music, doesn't it? And to practice pronunciation, intonation, stress, rhythm, phonics.
Wonderful answers here, really good. And
really good.
And so
the importance of having fun as well.
Of course. And most importantly, what it can do for children that may be anxious in the class or have attention issues is that it can be a countdown to an end of an activity. If you use the same type of music to say, instead of saying you've got 5 minutes, 5 minutes is a difficult concept for some children. So if you have a piece of music that can be used as a countdown, they will remember that more than they will remember 5 minutes. As we've said, as they said there, the environment and also communication. But as we said, there's some music that works particularly well at keeping the classroom calm, which is classical. And we all know the calming effect on that. So as we're going through all of these, I want us to perhaps consider that while we're thinking about emerging learning styles, we have to think of age and development clearly. Are there special needs? And also how you are going to assess all of this as well. The most important thing, and you probably have your way of doing that. And equally, that if you've got a routine going in the class, the other teachers are using the same routine.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's no benefit for the...
then it's confusing,
It's
isn't
very
it?
confusing, yeah. And so here, it's quite important, is where your child is now in the classroom, think about where you want them to get to and how you're going to help them to get there. And again, the pastoral information between teachers.
Exactly.
If something works well in your session, try and move it on to another teacher to use for theirs. Okay, so we're down to have your say.
And implement materials. Another have you say. So what do you think? Well, I would say because in a classroom of 25 plus, the children have different needs, and we need to adapt, and we need to consider how am I going to deal with these different needs. You first of all need to identify and know, obviously, your class quite well, and then consider in what way do the materials or the activities need to be adapted, and perhaps allow children with different capabilities or in that at that particular time to access these activities.
When you're working with infants, we have no idea of their emerging learning styles. So the child you have at 6 is no reflection of the child you had at 3.
Absolutely
So
not.
we have to use everything to try and help the children in the classroom.
We've got some answers here. Thank you. To cater for diversity, I think it's what we're saying, to reach everyone. Also to give different uses, to grade in different ways, activities, to consider all the needs, all the children's needs, and to deal, I think
everything that we've
really
said,
discussed.
What we've said, and I think that most teachers will recognise that it's a really, it's become more important than it was before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially
and really
now.
important in. But as you say, your point about these are emerging needs, so it's not fixed in time.
No, it's not fixed. And hopefully using these range of materials, you begin to gauge how the children learn within the classroom.
Yes.
And it is fair to say majority are visual learners because of the environment we're in now. But we still have children that really do enjoy reading and writing, that really enjoy that mode. So it's getting the correct balance within the class, within the time scale that teachers have, and making a resource that's going to have a long life. Because teachers work very hard and they have very little time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that some of these ideas may be able to be used.
I think so. I think so. So thank you very much. And I think what we'll do now is allow the viewers to send in some questions or comments that they may have about the
it'd be
talk.
lovely.
We'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. A question or a comment, that would be fine. You've given us so many ideas. I love the resources that you've shown. In particular, I love the fans which can be used with letters and with numbers. What I really like about all of these is that they've got multi-purpose.
Oh, they have,
use.
And some of these ideas are in the teacher's corner as well.
And they're in the teacher.
they're in the teacher corners.
In teacher development. Yes.
So that's the idea, that if you go to the trouble of making one resource, it lasts for years. You don't want it just to be for one class.
Exactly.
So it's quite important to have that in mind, and also the teachers. If you can make it in a coffee break, that's a good resource.
Somebody is saying, many thanks, Yvonne.
Oh, no,
it's
lovely.
been lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, and these are resources. I think the other point that struck me as well was the idea of pastoral care and passing it on and sharing. And particularly sharing knowledge and information about the kids, and also ideas that work
Yeah.
or don't work.
That don't work, because that the stress and anxiety of
Exactly.
teachers changing their routines, and of course children have to learn to adapt to
Of course they
changes.
do.
However, you may find that children with emerging special needs may need to have that familiarity
Exactly.
that will decrease the stress in the
Exactly.
class, which all
Exactly.
teachers recognise. Yeah.
Yes. Many thanks, Yvonne, again. Thank you. I like the resources you present to us. Thank you so much. Fantastic ideas. Well, great.
Yeah, no, they've all been
I think
used.
it's unanimous.
Yeah, no, they've all been
Thank
used
you.
in the class, so they work. They
Yes,
do work. Yeah,
in your
they do
many
work.
years' experience.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we were talking earlier about some experiences that
Yeah.
Yvonne had in the classroom, and
Yeah.
there are many and varied,
Yes,
as I'm
yeah.
sure is the case for you, the viewers. So see you back here in a couple of minutes. Thank you.